All right, so welcome to Contemporary Concerns Online. Um, so I've got a lot of emails the past few days about how class is going to operate and so forth, and a lot of this I covered in the syllabus, but I'll go over the highlights of the syllabus, and introduce you to me, and then get going with class after that. So, since this class is completely online, because most, if not all of you, are nursing majors who have very hectic schedules, um, it's going to kind of be at your own pace, sort of. So Mondays are our official meeting day. So what we'll do is, pardon me. So what we'll do then is Monday morning, first thing, by 8 o'clock, either I'll have a video posted or the group that's presenting will have their video posted somewhere, and then they'll email the link or something along those lines to the rest of us so that all of us can access it as early as Monday at 8, since that's our meeting day. Later in the day on Monday then, by 3 o'clock p.m., so probably around midday or so, I'll get around to it, I will have watched the presentation video, and then I'll have discussion questions posted on a forum in Moodle. You all then will have until Friday to reply to and contribute to the forum. So Monday is still kind of class day. That's the day where new information is presented, but you have the rest of the week to kind of work on that new information as your schedule allows. Okay? So part of the requirement for this course, as far as the university is concerned, is that everyone has to give at least a 10-minute presentation with visuals. We have a huge class. Okay? You probably don't know that because we don't see each other. We have over 30 students enrolled in this section of this course. So in order for everyone to get their presentation in, what I've done, and I'll make this clear on the discussion board as well, is the topics that we're going to cover. If each topic is covered by a group of 4 individuals, then everyone will have a chance to present. You may wonder, why do I need to present, right? I'm not going to be a pastor or anything along those lines. The university believes that everyone who graduates college should be able to present information and material. Who knows what aspect of your life you may need to present something to someone. And so everyone should be able and familiar enough to be able to do that well, to convey information and to begin discussions. Furthermore, as Christians, we are called to speak out for Christ, and so we need to be comfortable enough to do that. Now, that doesn't mean that we're thumping our Bible on every street corner. What that does mean is that when God gives us the opportunity to speak to someone, even if we're uncomfortable, if He's calling us to speak to someone, we need to be comfortable enough to follow that call and to do that. So the presentations, the minimum, absolute bare minimum requirement is 10 minutes of presentation. Now that does not mean a 5-minute video and then 5 minutes of presentation. That's 10 minutes of presentation. So if you choose to include a video, then that time does not count toward the 10-minute presentation time. It has to be 10 minutes with visuals. Obviously the visuals will not be an issue because we'll be doing this virtually anyway. Pardon me. Now, that's the bare minimum. Shrapi's expectation is a bit more than that. Okay, you guys are seniors, so the expectations are a bit higher. Some of you may have had me for Love Justice and already thought my expectations were unreasonable. They're about to get more unreasonable if that's what you thought about Love Justice, because I do expect more from seniors than I did from freshmen. And really this class is the bookend to Love Justice. Love Justice is the intro class, the intro to ethics. This is the culmination of ethics. In Love Justice, we cover the basic ethical theories, and we try to apply them to more everyday examples. Now that you've had additional years of college education and additional life experience, this is the capstone course for the entire university. And it's, okay, given all of the knowledge, all of the information that you now have, what are we going to do about global issues? That's why this is contemporary concerns. The issues are contemporary concerns for Christians and for the world. So what are we going to do about it? So that's kind of the overarching idea as to why this class at all and how it fits with Love Justice and why the same Yahoo teaches both. So the minimum is 10 minutes of presentation with visuals. Shrapi's expectation is that whatever topic it is that you choose, and so I'd like you all to choose your topic this week, please. So that'll be part of the discussion board, and the forum will be, give me your top 3 choices of topic that you want to present on, and then I'll make the groups and so forth and let everyone know as quickly as possible, hopefully this weekend. So Shrapi's expectation is that for whatever the topic is, let's just say poverty, that the group that's presenting will be the opening, that'll be the intro to the poverty discussion. They'll be the experts for that period of time. Okay, this does not mean that they will be poverty experts forever and ever, but this does mean that they will have done the research. So there are research components to this course. They will have done the research such that they can present the material, they can present the topic of poverty, for instance, from various perspectives in such a way that that then begins the discussion for the rest of us on poverty, right? So my expectation is not that it's just 40 minutes, right? 10 minutes per person, but it's probably going to be approaching more like an hour, possibly even an hour 15, an hour and a half, right? To be able to present all of the material thoroughly and begin discussions. So the idea then is that the group then will ask certain questions that will prompt discussions. I'll then take those questions, put them on the discussion board or on the forum, I forget what Moodle calls it, on the forum, and those will be the beginning discussion questions for the course or for that topic. I'll have additional questions. I'll probably have additional information that I'm aware of that perhaps the group wasn't, or I might phrase things slightly differently. So that's why I need a little bit of time on Mondays to kind of view the video, process the video that the group has done, and then contribute other things as well to the class, so that by, again, 3 o'clock Monday, you have everything that you need in order to complete the week's worth of material by Friday. Okay? And we'll see how that goes. If we need to adjust, we can. It's the first time I'm teaching this course in a 1-day-a-week platform, and we're doing it virtually, so a whole lot of different stuff. Okay, so we're going to adjust. This is tentatively, this is how I kind of have it envisioned. So this presentation then, and I need to be clear here, because you all are seniors, and I know you are busy, Shrapi is trying to eliminate fluff. Shrapi is trying to eliminate stuff just for the sake of stuff. So Shrapi has limited the assessed work to only 4 components, which means all 4 of those count pretty big, right? 25% each of these 4 components. One of those is the presentation. So your presentation is a 1/4 of your entire grade for this course. Okay? So that means then that you need to spend time researching it, working with your group. So it'll be, rather than a group grade, each individual in the group will have a grade. Okay? And it's not just me who will be assessing your presentation. I want your peers to do it as well. So obviously this would not be on the forum. These would be emails to Dr. Shrapi. Each student who is not, again, let's just use poverty as the example. All of the students who are not part of the poverty presentation group will email me their assessment of the presentation. And so I'll take those under consideration. So it'll be a combination of your peers' assessment as well as my assessment. and that'll be your participation grade. And I'll give general comments as I give the grades as well, right? So here's your grade. Here are some of the general comments that I and your classmates had about it, right? And it's not going to be, well, so-and-so said. No, we're not doing that. It'll just be general overall, here was the assessment for your presentation. That's 25% of your grade. Okay, so it's going to require some time commitment. Okay, another 25% of your grade is the final paper. This final paper has to be about 10 to 12 pages. This final paper has to be on a topic that you could potentially face, an ethical dilemma you could face in your chosen profession. So the idea is then that this is not just another paper to fulfill another requirement, but this is a paper that then will prepare you for something that you might actually face out there. And this paper, if you had me for Love, Justice, and the Good Life, this paper is sort of like a journal entry on steroids. What you'll need to do is, it'll be research, okay, so already slightly different, right? It'll be research on a topic that not only will you face out there in your profession, but hopefully a topic which has conflicting Christian ideas about the right thing to do. It definitely has to be something that has at least two well-formulated sides to the thing, right? So whatever the dilemma is, I've got to have this is the right thing to do, no, this is the right thing to do. And again, that's going to be based upon the research that you've done. So this is not just all from your head like the journals were. This is research-based. So again, there's going to be time commitment here, okay? So you'll be fully articulating both sides. So you'll be setting the scene, telling me what the dilemma is, why it's a dilemma. Then you'll be telling me, and this is what one side thinks, and fully develop that, whether that's the one you agree with or not. I shouldn't be able to tell when reading the paper which position you agree with until the end when you tell me, okay? You should be doing such a great job articulating both sides. And again, ideally, hopefully this would be something that has two competing Christian sides, because not only is this a contemporary concerns for Christians, but it's also contemporary concerns amongst Christians that frequently we'll see with some of these issues. Christians themselves disagree as to what the ethical answer is to some of these dilemmas. And so that makes it complicated then, not just for Christianity in the world, but within the confines of Christianity itself as well. So that's also 25% of your overall grade. Furthermore, just so that we're all kind of clear as to what your final project is, about the midterm, about halfway through the course, I want your topic so that I can be sure that it's a topic that actually works with what the final project needs to be, right? And so if we need to clarify or something, that gives us some time to do so, okay? So that's half the grade, presentation, final paper, okay? The third component is participation. Now, obviously, this is going to be a bit more difficult doing it virtually, but that's why we have the forums. So keep in mind as you're responding and replying, and I want these to kind of be one thread with multiple responses. I don't want everybody to have their own thread. That's going to be way too confusing. I'll present I'll put the questions out there, and I want everybody to kind of respond and reply to my questions / the responses which came before. Okay, so it really is, we're trying to recreate as closely as possible in a virtual format a class discussion. Okay, this is a discussion-based class because we have to think through these things together. Okay, so that's also going to be 25% of your grade. So it's going to be more than just a sentence or two, right? It's going to be thoughtful. It's going to be reflective, right? And it's going to take into consideration many things. So the advantage that you all have, that the in-person class doesn't have, is you have more time to think, right? Since we're doing it in the confines of the classroom, have only a few minutes to think about the question before we're moving on, because the discussion is developing. You all really have about 4 days to think about it, right? So I post them on Monday. You could go out on Monday just to look at them, just to begin thinking about them. And then you're going to be thinking about them Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then you don't have to reply until Friday. So you have much more time to think more deeply and more critically and more thoroughly about them than the in-person class does. So these should probably be pretty chunky thoughts, right? And again, that's going to be kind of cumulative of the entire course, right? So it's not like, oh my goodness, you only said 2 sentences on this, on the poverty topic, so your grade is doomed. No, 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 no. It's going to be cumulative, right? And so if you frequently only give 2 sentences, your participation grade is going to suffer. If you frequently, most of the time, make it clear that you've thought about all these questions that I'm asking and how they relate to each other and how they relate to other things, and then once or twice only have a sentence or 2, your participation grade is probably going to be fine. Okay. Also, timeliness will sort of count here. So, I mean, the due date for the discussion board is Friday. So if you're posting on Saturday or on Sunday, I may or may not read them. I may or may not consider them. If I do consider them, then they would at least be late. So keep that in mind as well as you're kind of thinking through what your weekly schedule is going to look like for the term. So that's 75%. Participation, presentation, paper. And the fourth one, man, I wish I could get it to start with a P, but I just can't. Journals. So journals are back, but journals are different now. And again, I'm sort of referring to some Love, Justice, and Good Life stuff because I know at least a few of you had me for Love, Justice. So I'm just drawing that comparison and contrast to point out how this is sort of like, but not quite like that. Okay. So these journals, again, the beginning of each week, starting next week, I won't give you one for this week, starting next week, and this class is kind of funky as well since it starts on Monday. We're sort of a week behind the other courses. So the last class day for this class is the Monday of finals week, but your final paper is due the Monday before Thanksgiving. So it's like there's this like extra week because we started midweek Wednesday of last week, but you guys aren't meeting until Monday of this week. So you're sort of half a week behind. Okay. And that's on the syllabus as well. So the journals for this course, I'll give you a journal topic and I'll make it clear in the discussion board. This is the journal topic. These are the discussion topics for the forum. The journal topic is not to be discussed in the forum. The journal topic, what I want you to do is, I want you to talk to at least 3 people not in this course. These 3 people could be anybody. It could be mom and or dad. They could be your pastor. They could be siblings. They could be your roommate as long as they're not in this class. I don't care. It's just be 3 other people. And the idea is I want this to be discussion that goes beyond the course. So we have the discussion within the confines of the course. That's the forums. But these topics, again, if these are contemporary concerns in the world / contemporary concerns amongst Christians, then you should be out there in the world discussing these things with other people. And they don't necessarily even have to be other Christians. In fact, it'd probably be best if some of them weren't. So the idea is that, and the topic won't be as in-depth as the ones that we're talking about in class, but it'll be kind of a brief discussion starter, right? And so your journals then, and again, you'll be accumulating these throughout the term. You won't turn them in each week. You'll be accumulating these things. And so the journal itself then will be kind of a synopsis of the conversations that you had. So I'll get kind of a summary of, hey, here was the topic, and here's what this one person kind of generally said, and here's how that discussion went, and the second person, and the third person. And so maybe you talk to these 3 individuals separately. Maybe you have kind of a group discussion with all 4 of you. But what I'm looking for is I'm looking in the journals about proof and demonstration that a discussion took place with other folks and that, again, you critically reflected on the discussion. So there's going to be, person A and person B and person C. And in light of all of that, here's kind of the stuff that I'm thinking about with regards to this topic, right? And maybe it's a compare and contrast between what you thought about before the discussions and what you thought about after these discussions. Okay? So the idea is I want you to take the stuff that we're talking about in class out of the class and talk to other folks about this stuff. So that's the journals. That's the final 25%. Again, if only were a journal, then we'd have 4 Ps, but we don't. So that's kind of the format of the class. The textbook for the class, the Stott book, one of the difficulties with this particular class is it's very unique and weird. And because of that, there really isn't a good textbook for it. I've been talking to some of the other contemporary concerns faculty. Down the road, perhaps we'll come up with like a course packet type deal. We're not there yet. So the closest thing there is, now think about this, the closest book that there is which discusses multiple contemporary concerns for Christians was written 14 years ago by a Brit. So it's contemporary-ish, but it's also in a different world context. And that's the best book that's out there to cover this stuff. Right? I mean, are there individual books which perhaps cover homosexuality better? Sure. Are there individual books which cover race better? Sure. But it's unreasonable to expect you to, A, purchase or even have access to, 10 different books, and to have the time to read 10 different books. No, we're looking for summaries and synopses here, things to get the ball rolling. So here again, the presentations kind of become the text for the course, right? So they're the ones putting it in contemporary 2020 United States context, right? And it's kind of up to the group to decide, how they're going to break it up, so on and so forth. I don't necessarily need 10 minutes of James, then 10 minutes of Savannah, then 10 minutes, right? You can if you choose to, or you can kind of like intermix and intermingle a thing where you get a couple of minutes here, a couple of minutes from this person, a couple of minutes from this person, then we go back to this person, right? And I want everyone to kind of use their expertise, right? The other courses that they've taken in addition to their own interest and their own research that they've done. What that also means then is, yes, on the syllabus, does it have a tentative course schedule, and are there chapters assigned for each week or most weeks? Yes. Do you necessarily have to have read that chapter for that week? No. Because again, the presentation is going to be the text. So that presentation is going to be the chapter. And rather than having read it, you will be watching it and processing it, so that you can enter into a discussion about it. So the book is there as a resource, but not the primary resource. What that means for you then is, yes, you're busting your you-know-what to do good research for your presentation. Yes, you're busting your you-know-what to do good research for your final paper. Other than that, you're having discussions with people about journals, and you're engaging in discussions virtually through the forums. Again, I'm trying not to fill this class with a whole bunch of stuff that you have to do just to do the stuff, just to move on, right? So you need to figure out how to work your time accordingly. There's not weekly readings. You're welcome. But there are a few big chunky time commitments here and there. Okay, so that may be another thing to consider when you're trying to decide which topic do you want to do for your presentation. When it falls in the class may matter to you. If you want to do it early and kind of get it out of the way, then something like social media maybe, what you're kind of aiming towards, that's probably going to be in like 2 weeks, so it's going to be pretty early on. Or maybe you're like, no man, the beginning of my term is crazy. I need to push back toward the end, so maybe you're looking more like guns and violence or something along those lines instead. So again, I'll leave that up to you. I'll include that in the forum. I'll probably have a couple of different forums for this week. I'll probably have a forum on the topic for the week, which I'll get to here in just a few minutes. And I'll probably have a separate forum for like listing the possible presentation topics. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Okay. Heck, haven't even introduced myself yet. I'm sorry. I apologize. That's rude of me to talk for 25 minutes and not even tell you who the heck I am. Just dove right in there. Still working on this whole virtual, I'm talking to a screen that you'll then see me later kind of thing. So, I'm David Schrappe, born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. Went to Columbus City School System. And so again, the jokes will also be similar if you've had me for Law of Justice. Here's the joke for that one, which sadly is only half true because it's also, half funny. The news will attempt to convince you that everyone from Columbus City School System either ends up dead or in jail, and sadly many of them do, but many of us don't. Okay, so I'm one of the ones who don't / didn't, right? So I went to public school system, did my undergraduate in philosophy and religious studies at a teeny college in the middle of Kentucky. It's a lot like Kenyon, but it's about half the price because it's in Kentucky instead of Ohio. There I met the lady who is now my wife. She was majoring in Spanish and French, so she's a linguist and all of that. Then graduated, and I did the working in the cubicle thing for 40 hours a week while she went to the University of Cincinnati to get her master's in mental health counseling. And again, I'm sure it's only a coincidence. A lot of people are going into the mental health field. It's only a coincidence that my best friend from high school, best friend from college, and my wife are all mental health counselors. Purely coincidental, I'm sure. You've had me for Law of Justice, you're probably thinking, yeah, no kidding, Dr. Schrappe, we know you're crazy, and these people in your life probably recognize that too. They want to go to school so they can help you. So there's that. So then I went back to grad school, Kent State, master's in philosophy, and then Southern Illinois University in Carbondale for my PhD work in philosophy because I like redundancy, a doctorate of philosophy in philosophy. And actually, that's not why. There are different reasons why, but it doesn't matter right now. So along the way, then my wife and I got married. That sounds weird. You know what I mean. We will have been married 20 years in November, engaged for a year before that, dated for a year before that. So for over half of our lives, we've been a part of each other's life now. We have a 14-year-old daughter, Elizabeth, 11-and-a-half-year-old son, Joshua, and 5-year-old, as of today actually, 5-year-old Samantha. We have 2 cats because my wife convinced me that it's good mental health for all of us to have pets around. My older children are as nerdy as I am, so they did the research and discovered that people who have pets on average are happier than people who do not have pets. So they convinced me to get pets. So we have 2 cats running around the house now as well. Let's see. Boring vehicles. Gray Ford Taurus, because practically everyone has a gray Ford Taurus. And a minivan, because, I have 3 kids. And let's call it what it is. I'm an adjunct professor at Mount Vernon, an adjunct professor at Columbus State Community College, and I work part-time at Franklin Park Conservatory and Botanical Gardens. So living this adjunct part-time life does not mean I have enough cash to go get a Maserati or a Bugatti or a Lamborghini or any other car that ends in I, because obviously those are fancier and nicer. I guess we could call it a Ford Taurus I, maybe that would make it sound fancier. I don't know. McLarens are pretty sweet cars, they would end with I. Anyway. Let's see. Oh, my Christian credentials. Since it's a Christian school, I got to give those too, right? So I wasn't raised going to church or anything along those lines. And I was drawn to philosophy first and religious studies secondly. Now, religious studies is not the same as religion. Religious studies is looking at all of the religions through a much more philosophical lens and historical lens, not, oh wow, I'm a believer, let me learn more. That's their certificate of ministry program or something along those lines, which my wife is currently in. Studying to be a pastor and all that stuff. She's also the lead singer for our worship team and just all around awesome person. And actually you'll get to sort of meet her. She'll be doing one of these presentations on my behalf. One of the topics we're going to cover is self-care. Thankfully, I'm married to an expert in that field, so why not take advantage of the resources available to me? So as one of my classes called her the Good Schrappe. You'll get to hear from her in one of these in a couple of weeks. they do like her much better because who wouldn't? She's awesome. So anyway, I didn't go to church or anything along those lines. Started dating Jennifer, and she was Catholic at the time, so I started going to Catholic church with her during college years. And then eventually she started going to Protestant churches, so I just kind of went with her and followed her wherever she went. And again, not that and this is going to sound weird, I know that the Bible makes it clear either you're for Christ or against Christ. I feel like I was in a weird in-between, like I hadn't sold out for Christ or anything along those lines, I hadn't made the decision, hadn't decided to believe that yes, he did die for me and my sins as well, so on and so forth. But I also wasn't, oh, boo, Christianity, or anything along those lines. It was like, man, okay. So, let's see. Oh, so it was probably the earthquake. So, in Carbondale, Illinois, it's close enough to a fault line that occasionally you get some tremors from earthquakes. Had one of those while I was there. Kind of freaked me out. Never experienced an earthquake before. Kind of freaked my wife out. Had deep heart-to-heart conversations, so on and so forth, and so I decided at that point to make a decision for Christ. And even before that, I was actively involved in the church I was attending, as odd as that sounds too. And so since then, in my current church, the Nazarene Church here in Columbus, about a 10-minute walk from my house, back when we actually met in person and so forth inside a building, we currently meet outside, social distancing and all of that. But when we met in the church, I would teach the kids class, I'd play drums for the worship team, run sound, so on and so forth. So actively involved in the church and in the community. We host a small group at my house on the deck and so forth every week. So actively involved. And I say that because just like in Love Justice, I may occasionally come across as the jerk who hates Christianity and doesn't love Christ. I'm doing that again for for educational purposes and reasons, right? We will not always be surrounded by fellow Christians who believe what we believe. We will sometimes be confronted with people who do not believe what we believe. And so it's better to be prepared for that now than it is being thrown into it later. So I will sometimes be the voice of, or give voice to, the anti-Christian position. Does not mean I hold that position to be true. It means that here's another position we need to wrestle with along the way. Let's see, I think that's about it for general class background, administrative stuff, who the heck is Shrapi. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So that'll be it for this video, and then I'll do a second video that's kind of the topic of the week, as it were.